Good morning. Our hand today is going to be King Queen. We're in middle position, folds to us. I think this is a playable hand. This is my mid position raising range. This is from low jack, king, queen suits, one of them. So I opt to raise for 3 big blinds. I think that's pretty standard. And then villain 5 comes in with a 3-bet. A 3-bet raise is pretty standard. I've got 180 hands on him. He is not a 3-bet. So I think he's going to be a little bit conservative on his 3-betting stat. He's had the opportunity 61 times and has not made the 3-bet. It doesn't mean he doesn't have a wider range. It could mean he just hasn't really had a whole lot of cards. That being said, I think something like this might work. This is 2.5%, queens plus ace king. He's out of position. Those are big hands. I could have a wider range. Now, even at this time of the table, I'm still playing only 13-10, 13% VPIP, 10% raise. So it is definitely a possibility here where I could, where he could have a wider range, but I think it's going to be fairly tight. Something like this. Obviously, Ace King's not that great for us. We're going to be behind. If we think this is his range, we could easily just go ahead and fold. But we do have, king queen suited. We've got, I really do think we have a playable hand here. So yeah, the decision to call or fold is probably about even. Just because I think villain's raising range here is going to be tight. So I kind of think we probably could have folded and just wait for another hand. I did and I called. So flop comes down king 8-6 with 2 spades. So suits miss us, but we do flop top pair. And looking at this range, we can see that it's going to hit. It's going to hit their range. Now you can say that for a big part of it, we have ace king is going to be reduced because there's only 2 kings left in the deck. So we're looking at 8 combos of those. Aces going to have full 6. Ace king, I'm sorry, queens will have the full, well, I'd say full 6, but we have one, so 3. So when we look at overall combos, I mean, the hand that we beat right now is just queens. That's it. That's the only hand that we beat. So villain bets 4.6, which is about a quarter pot, and it's on us. What do we make out of this? Well, I think the quarter pot bet is interesting. He could be betting quarter bet because he's beat. So we're looking at something like this, queens. Whereas with sets or overpair or even top pair, he would have bet larger. That could be his tendency. Or he's betting small because he hammered this flop. He has pocket kings. He has that one combo kings, or he has pocket aces, and he's just looking to get paid. Do I have notes on this guy? No, but we do have 3-bet range, queens plus ace 4 suited. So maybe he has a few more. Maybe a few more like this. That's a possibility. But at this point, for these stats, it doesn't look like he's raising very much. So what do I typically see with something like this? I think if you had kings and aces, you're probably betting larger because you've got the spade flush out there. And you're probably going to be concerned that a third spade comes and it puts you at a tough decision. So I think at this point, we're looking at one of these queens. Now, what should we do? I think here we probably need to raise, and this would help us better define our hand. We're raising for value, so I think he might have a hard time calling. If he just calls, he probably just has queens. If he comes over the top, then I think we're beaten. We could fold. The turn, maybe we could do the same thing on the turn. So if we call, would queens bet again? That's a good question. Maybe not. I don't think queens would bet. Would kings and aces bet? Yeah, probably. What if it's a spade? I think the spade turn presents more of a problem because that's going to probably freeze up all of those hands. So it'll be harder for us to judge if our kings are going to be good. So while raising here reveals some information, it's probably going to be more costly form of acquiring information than just calling. So here he did c-bet small, and I'd say I think c-betting small probably encourages more of a raise. I think here, since he does have such a tight 3-betting range, or at least my assumption is he has a tight 3-betting range, it may be better just to call. So I did call, and I think I'm happy with that call. Now, what kind of hands we had? We're talking about king queen. What else would we do this with? I kind of think same thing sets. I think we would probably just call. I think top pair. I think we're calling with these hands. I think the raises will be something like this. Let's get some of these color coded. I think we're gonna go for raises with some of these more middle hands, and possibly some probably just these middle hands is probably what we're gonna raise, because if we can get folds, hey, that's great. So if he just calls with queens and then folds to a turn bet, that works out fantastically. Or if we raise and get called and then we hit another hand, we hit 2 pair, that also works good. I'm not sure if we should raise with flush draw. We do have some value. So if we raise with a spade and then he 3-bets us, shoves, we're gonna probably have to give up because we might not have the odds to draw to those. So I kind of think that's going to be part of the calling range here. Whereas with these middle cards, if we raise, or if we bet and get raised, I should say if we raise and then he re-raises us, we can just dump those hands. So I'm kind of thinking I like the call a little bit better in this spot versus a raise. Now it changes if villain is much wider. So if we say he has all of these, I think it kind of makes a little bit more sense to go ahead and attack with a wider range, because he's more likely to fold. Or even with these, he may call once and then fold, whereas for those hands he might bet this 4.6 and then check behind on the turn. All right, so I did just call, turns a queen, which helps our hand. However, as we talk through this hand, it almost seems like if he had queens and he's betting small, now he just turns a queen. Yeah, we have a blocker, which means he has that last combo of queens out there, which is pretty slim. But I mean, it's definitely a possibility. So we're looking at basically a set 100% of the time, three combos, but actually one. So he just checks, and I think that's a little strange. Yeah, we hit 2 pair. I don't know what I was thinking here, but I do think we should be checking behind here. Yeah, we just hit our 2 pair, but the way the hands played out, I mean, we could still be ahead. We could be ahead of jacks. Maybe we underestimated his range. He has jacks and tens in his range, and that if we bet, he's just gonna fold. So what benefit do I see of raising? I don't. Right now, I don't. So I think I should have just checked behind. And the reason we just check behind, because what hands call here? Does he really have ace jack of spades? Does he have ace 10 of spades? Does he have, I guess in general, does he have the spade flush? Not according to his stats. It probably doesn't have those types of hands. Does he have ace king? Maybe, but why would he bet so small on the flop and then check the turn? I think ace king could call here. Does he have aces? Again, why would he bet so small? Could he have it? Yeah, he could. Could he have kings or queens? Yeah, he could. Bet small to encourage callers, and then, I call, and he's looking at, okay, we're going to try to do what we can to get more money in the pot. Kind of seems strange to bet small with kings and then check with kings. But something like this definitely indicates, I think, queens. So I bet 13.8 and then he min raises. I think that just screams queens here. And I think we can get away. We have two pair. It stinks to fold, but I think we should. Now, why I'd shoved, I have no idea. It forces him. I mean, we have two pair. I didn't think through the hand. I didn't think through his three betting range here. I just think this looks like queens at this point. I'm sure I was thinking, oh, he has aces, but again, why would you check the turn if you have aces? Why would you bet that small if you have aces bet that small on the flop if you have aces? So I shove. He calls, of course. Two diamonds comes, and he shows queens. I think that's just classic way that I see some people play with queens or with these under pairs. He bets small because he's scared on the flop, and then once he turn trips, he's going to check and go for the check raise. And I fell for it. And in the end, go back here. This hand cost me 71.2 big blinds. So I could have easily just checked behind here, taken the 2, and if he bets 27, I can call. If he bets half pot, or if he bets less, I can call. If he overbets it, probably had a decision of, what do I do? Do I call? Do I fold? I probably call if it's pot size or less. If it's over pot size, I think it's probably one where I'm going to just fold and be done with it. All right, hopefully you enjoy the sand. It's a mistake. Working through it, I shouldn't have made this mistake, but I did. And it cost me. So if you enjoy this hand, look tomorrow for another.